this video, I will explain what I find is the best way to film yourself when biking with a drone such as the Mavic Mini. I'm not entirely sure if you're interested in these types of videos, but let me know in the comment below if you would like to see more tips on how to get the most out of your cameras from a mountain bike perspective. First of all, I'm by no means any video creator expert, but I've done a lot of trial and error with the equipment that I have. And over time, I've learned what works and what doesn't. I got the original Mavic Mini a few years ago when it was launched, but this video also covers other versions of the Mavic Mini and a few other drones too. It's a great little drone, it's easy to carry with you when biking, and it also produces very stable footage and adds an extra dimension when creating videos. I do notice the limitations of this drone, however. It's especially lacking in dynamic range. The blacks get crushed easily, and I hope that the Mavic Mini 3 will come with a better camera. Yeah, and I forgot to mention that this drone also lacks any usable tracking features straight out of the box. Everything that has to do with tracking or following an object is a bit of a hack with all of these drones. The only drone in the market that reliably can follow a fast-moving object through the terrain is the Skydio 2. I only use a few seconds of footage in each of my videos. There are usually some establishing shots and also a few seconds of following a bike to add a different perspective from a GoPro. A common beginner mistake is to fly too high and too far away, which can look great, but with distance you will lose detail and you will not get that immersive shot where you can sense the speed and movement of an object. If you're filming someone else, it's quite difficult to follow a fast-moving mountain bike close up. So I usually film in the highest resolution possible, and then I can crop the image in post to get closer and to frame the object better. What you also can do is to angle the drone a little bit so that you will film slightly from behind, which will not only look nice, but it will be easier to keep the object in the frame. The viewer will also appreciate to see what's coming up next on the trail, and that will add to that immersive sensation again. This movement can be a little bit tricky to execute, but a bit of practice goes a long way. Okay, let's move on to how to film yourself when it's only you, your drone, and your mountain bike out there on the trails. In the DJI app, there are very few features that are helpful for filming yourself, especially on the move. What I sometimes do is to use the drone as a stationary camera. It is very easy to put the drone anywhere in the 3D space to get static shots, but from different angles. It's so quick and easy to adjust the position and the viewing angles of the drone that I often prefer using the drone over other cameras on tripods. The downsides are that the camera quality is not on par with the GoPro or a proper camera, and that there's no movement in the image. Of course, there are Quickshots in the DJI app, but that only works if you're standing still. The drone will lose track of you the instant you start moving, and the drone will move too far away from you too. To get the drone to fly by itself, you really need to download a third-party app. There are a few, and by now they should also be available for the Mavic Mini too. I use an app called Litchi, and it costs around $25 US. What's important is that the app supports waypoints. We'll get back to that later. The Litchi app unlocks a host of new functions that hides inside your drone, such as tracking, follow me, and waypoints. The tracking function is of limited use for us mountain bikers. If you go very slow and have the drone at an exact angle and there are no other objects around, maybe you can get the drone to track you. But as soon as you start pedaling, it will lose track of you straight away. This is unfortunately not the way to go, even if it seems to be the obvious function for filming yourself on an MTB. Follow me is sort of a tracking function, but it doesn't rely on the camera to track an object. It rather follows the controller. It works better, but the movements are jerky and unpredictable. The drone can suddenly spin around you 180 degrees at high speed, so you really need to have your drone high above all objects in the vicinity. I've put my drone in a tree once when using this function and been so close to crash on other occasions. Another downside is that you need to bring the controller with you on the bike, which is tricky on a rocky trail. I used to remove the control sticks and put the controller inside my GoPro chest mount. More than once I accidentally touched the screen or the controller itself, which made the drone dart away somewhere, which is quite nerve-wracking. So if you don't want jerky movements from a high altitude, along with unpredictable high speed movements, stay clear of the follow me function. The only way that I got reasonably predictable results is when I use something called waypoints. It's still a bit of a faff and it takes one drone battery to set up properly. But the operation is pretty controlled, you can fly very low and point the camera where you want to. Waypoints are used to make the drone move entirely on its own by using GPS without any inputs from the controller or tracking from the camera. Everything can easily be set up, such as altitude, camera angles, speed, and where to fly, of course. I usually keep it simple and use only a start point and an end point. Point the camera at an angle to make it easy to get yourself in the frame. A speed at around 7 meters per second is easy to keep up with and gives you room to either increase or slow down yourself when keeping up with the speed of the drone. A great thing with waypoints is that you can dial in the height by testing your waypoints at a high altitude first and then gradually lower it until you reach the desired height. Make sure that there are no inclines or objects in the terrain along the flight path, as there are no side collision sensors on the Mavic Mini. When everything from flight path, altitude to camera and drone angles are set, save the waypoint mission, change battery in the drone and start filming. Leave the controller and get on the bike. It may seem to be a difficult task to chase the drone to get in the frame, but it's surprisingly easy. It only takes a couple of tries to nail it. Of course, there's always better to have someone else to film yourself with your Mavic Mini. It makes for so much nicer shot, but if you don't have a skilled drone pilot that you can trust and you only need a few seconds to add some perspective to your mountain bike video, this is the method that I find work best. See you in the next video.